So the committee is also waiting to hear back from Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Last week, investigators requested she come testify after it was revealed she had been in communication with John Eastman, the architect of the president's plan to overturn the election. Congressman Adam Schiff was asked about that yesterday.
Well, we want to know what she knows, what her involvement was in this plot to overturn the election. She has said that she is willing to come in and testify voluntarily. We're glad to hear that. Really, anyone with pertinent information, we want to hear from. And so we have a range of questions to ask her. Obviously, I think the committee will be interested, among other things, whether this was discussed with Justice Thomas, given that he was ruling on cases impacting whether we would get some of this information.
Yeah. So, Dave Ehrenberg, we have so much that we've learned about Ginny Thomas, whether it's her text with Mark Meadows, whether it's her contact with Arizona state legislators saying don't actually send the actual legislators or the electors that are supposed to come, throw out the election results there and get your own electors. We also, of course, have other communication as well. If you're on that committee, what specifically do you want to learn from Ginny Thomas's communication, since she says she wants to cooperate?
Yeah, Joe, I'll believe it when I see it, that she actually shows up, especially without a subpoena. She has a lot of criminal liability. I want to know about her conversations with Arizona leaders. I want to know about her conversations with her husband. I mean, it's astonishing that you have a Supreme Court justice ruling on matters that his own wife is involved in. That's because the Supreme Court, they make their own rules and they interpret their own rules.
Let me cut you off real quickly. You said she faces criminal liability. Criminal liability for what?
Well, she could be charged with obstruction of an official proceeding. You don't have to be there at the Capitol that day. She can be charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States government. And so these are potential charges, and you've got to believe her lawyers are telling her this. And also, if she shows up and lies before the committee, she can be charged with perjury. So that's why I don't know if she'll actually show up. Let's see. And, Joe, if I can go back to something you all said about the intent that Donald Trump needs to have to prosecute him, where you have to show criminal intent, you have to show that he actually believed the election was legit. As a prosecutor, I want to cast some doubt on that. I don't think you have to show that Donald Trump actually believed and knew the election was legitimate. There are more than 800 people currently being charged by the Department of Justice for the insurrection who all believe the election was stolen. So for Trump, you just need to show that he went through the process of going to the courts and lost 61 cases. And then after he lost, he then pressured local government officials to find a certain number of votes, pressured DOJ officials to declare fraud when they didn't think it existed, submitted false electors, and allegedly unleashed the violent mob onto the Capitol and refused to call them off. All of that shows criminal intent, regardless of whether Trump truly believed the election was stolen.
Jonathan, feel free to respond to Dave's point there, but also give us a sense. The hearings resume, January 6 hearings resume tomorrow. We've got 2 this week, likely 1 more the following week, it looks like. Tell us about the threads that the committee is going to be pulling at now. What is the main, each hearing has been so well organized, so streamlined, so smart. Where are they going next?
Well, what the committee is doing is they're trying to build this larger narrative by taking this sort of 5, 6, 7 different buckets of avenues that the Republicans and Trump's allies and Trump pursued to show the wide-ranging nature of the effort to overturn the election, with what seems to be probably a hearing at the end or close to the end that shows Trump's indifference in responding to it. What went on during the many hours of the siege on the Capitol, and what was Trump doing behind the scenes to not respond, to encourage, or what was actually going on in the West Wing. So we've seen those different elements laid on top of each other, and it continues to build out a larger and bigger narrative about what went on. Last week, they moved the ball significantly in terms of showing the potential criminality of Trump. To Dave's point, prosecutors and legal experts would say that the president's willfulness even to not acknowledge the truth is something that could be used against him and could be a way of showing what his actions are. At a larger level, on the question of Trump and his criminality, the Justice Department will ultimately have to look at whether bringing charges against a former president of the United States is in the best interest of the country. Those are charges, considerations that are often not given to run-of-the-mill cases that the department brings. But when having to charge someone who was a president and by all intents and purposes looks like he wants to run again, there are just considerations about the larger impact of it that would go all the way to the top of the Justice Department. I understand that may bother many people. They may say, well, he should be treated exactly as everyone else. But in every major decision the Justice Department has, these larger considerations are brought into the fold, because if they were to charge Trump, it wouldn't just be charging one individual. It would be a significant matter for the entire country.
New York Times reporter Michael Schmidt and State Attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Aronberg. Thank you both very much for being on this morning.